First member of Gen Z to serve in Congress is expected to head to Washington in January. CBS News projects 25-year-old Democrat Maxwell Frost easily defeated his Republican challenger in Florida's 10th congressional district race. The Afro-Cuban progressive ran in a heavily blue Orlando area district represented by outgoing Democratic Congresswoman Val Demings. He focused his platform on stricter gun control laws, abortion rights, and Medicare for all. And there were some other historic firsts on election night. Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey became the first woman to be elected governor in the Bay State. She's also the first openly lesbian governor in U.S. history. Former White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders is the first woman to be elected as governor of Arkansas. She's also the highest profile former Trump administration official elected into office. And political newcomer Wes Moore made history in Maryland, becoming the first black person elected as governor in that state. And with us now is Congressman-elect Maxwell Frost. He joins us from Orlando. Congressman-elect, congratulations to you. The first Gen Z member of Congress. How does that sound?
It sounds amazing. And look, being the first Gen Z member of Congress isn't the reason I decided to run. I really wanted to run to represent my district, but it's a huge part of the story. Gen Z and millennials make up about a third of the country, but we're nowhere near a third of the government, and I think we need a government that needs to look like the country.
I know you sort of became politically active when you were just 15 years old, and what really got you into that were the school shootings that you were witnessing. And I know that's part of your agenda. You want to tackle gun legislation. No one's been able to do that in a very, very long time. What do you think the older generation is doing wrong, and why do you think you can make a difference?
Yeah, well, for me, it's less about, older versus younger and this and that. I mean, we saw that, President Biden signed into law the bipartisan bill to help end gun violence. I think that was a great step forward. It's not everything we need, but it shows that there's bipartisan support to build a country where we don't lose 100 lives a day due to gun violence, to build a country where the leading cause of death for children is not gun violence. And so for me, I'm very hopeful. We know that universal background checks are very popular amongst Republicans and NRA members, and we just need the political will to move it forward to literally save lives.
Congressman-elect, if you're dealing now with a slight Republican majority in the House that you're now elected to, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, right? I mean, right now, there are common sense gun reform measures that have bipartisan support when you look at the polling, NRA members, Republicans. But the problem is bipartisan shouldn't mean what the NRA is good with. Bipartisan should mean what the people want. And something like universal background checks, ensuring that guns are not getting in the wrong hands, it's increasingly popular in this country, and we just need to muster up the political will. And so I'm very excited to get the Congress to work with folks, yes, across the aisle and in my own party, to push this forward. It's something that is often put on the back burner, but we are losing lives. People are dying every single day, and we just can't sit around.
What else is at the top of your agenda?
Definitely gun violence. I think abortion rights is incredibly important. We need to ensure that we protect safe and legal access to abortion. Governor DeSantis, who just won last night re-election, has said he wants to pass an outright all-out abortion ban in the state of Florida. We need to protect states, especially that have Republican governors and state legislatures that are going to prey on the most vulnerable people and take away their rights. Another thing that's top of mind for me is the economy and just making sure that people have the resources they need to live their lives. Healthcare, a decent wage, a good union job. These are things that should be a part of the basic American bargain that give people the resources they need to tap into the opportunity this country has. So there's a lot of work we have to do. I'm excited to join the caucus and fight for the world that I believe, and I really do believe that a better world is possible, and we just need to muster up the political will and the courage to ask for more.
Congressman-elect, we just heard Jim Messina say that the 2024 election is going to be Biden versus Trump. As a 25-year-old, what do you think about a presidential election with a 78-year-old versus an 82-year-old?
Well, more generally, I like to see younger folks run for office. But I'll tell you, if President Biden decides to run for a second term, which I think he's indicated that he's looking at doing, I will support the president. We've seen that he has worked on policy that really excites young people. In 2020, we had the highest youth voter turnout in the history of our country, from ensuring that we're using money to combat the climate crisis to student debt cancellation. Young people are actually very excited about the work President Biden's been doing. And so, we'll look forward to that. But right now, I'm focused on the next 2 years.
Congressman-elect Maxwell Frost, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.